Welcome to another edition of the House Whisperer Show on WWDB Talk 860. I'm Barry Reisman, inviting you to stay tuned for expert advice about maintaining your home from the roof to the basement, featuring professional home inspector Jack Milne. And Jack has a very special guest on the line with him today. Jack, how you doing today?
I'm great, Barry. You know, it's another Sunday, and in fact, it's a Super Bowl Sunday. So I'm anticipating a good game tonight, but I want to get down to a little bit of business before we get to enjoy ourselves for the rest of the day.
Sounds good to me.
I'm sorry. I got a special guest, like you mentioned, Glenn Aust, and he's been my electrician for well over 20 years. But Glenn does something that I think most electricians tend to stay away from or are afraid to dabble with, and that's the installation of generators. So, Glenn, before we kick in, I like to thank my sponsors, but real quick, how can our listeners reach out to you?
Yeah, hi, Jack and Barry. Thanks a lot, Jack. Appreciate that. They can reach me at glennelectric22@gmail.com, or you can call me at 215-357-5259 or 610-346-8129. And I'm also available on Angie's List.
Well, there you go. Great numbers. He's got, numbers that are available down not only in the lower part of the county, but also the upper part of the county. So just real quick, let me thank my sponsors, because without them I wouldn't be on the air. Burrow Exterminating. They do both termite as well as radon testing. They're out of Glen Olden, Pennsylvania. And you can email them at burrowinspects@verizon.net. Buxmont Inspections, again, the best people who can evaluate, test, as well as design on-site sewage systems. Their email is bmseptic@comcast.net. Pest Blaster, radon, mold, wood-destroying insects, pest removal. Their email is pestblaster@verizon.net. And, of course, one of my favorites, brainflushedgear.com. Doesn't get any simpler. Wow, that's a new word. Simpler. There it is. I knew it was in there somewhere. Than that. And, of course, they do have an email, too, which is contact@brainflushedgear.com. And, of course, Tri-County Inspection Company. Not that I always say the best for last, but I guess there's something subliminal there. That's my home inspection company, been in business since 1985, and has served well over 70,000 folks. So our email is info@tcinspect.com, and the website is just tcinspect.com. So I'm going to forgo the email box just because I do have Glenn on the line, but I'm going to tell you next week I'm going to dedicate the show to my listeners' questions from the email box. And you can always visit me at thehousewhispershow@gmail.com. Of course, the website is thehousewhispershow.com. And please don't forget the podcast, www.dbam.com, to listen again through the week. So, Glenn, you ready for some questions?
I am ready, Mr. Milne.
All right, sir.
Shoot.
First off, how long have you been an electrician?
To my surprise, I have been an electrician for 32 years, and I guess I'm entering the category of an old-timer, although I hate to admit it. But 32 years, Jack. This will be my 32nd year.
Yeah, I'll tell you, time flies when you're having fun,
There you go.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. I had you put in 2 generators since Hurricane Sandy, one at my home, but also one at my business. But since that hurricane, Glenn, how many of these components have you put in?
Jack, I would say approximately at least 20. And I would say it's split right down the middle between manual and automatic, the 2 different types of installs. I would say it's just about 50-50, installations of each. But yeah, I would say at least 20. Now, what happens there, Jack, is after the storm, Sandy or any other ice storm leaves and the sun comes out, all of a sudden those people that were so excited and anxious to get a generator fade to black. And now that the sun's out and that Sandy storm is gone, they're less interested, or it's less a priority to get a backup emergency generator for their home for obvious reasons.
Well, I know, they are pricey, but real quick, Glenn, what's the difference between a manual generator and an automatic one?
Well, pretty much exactly that, Jack. If you want to be in your home and you have a power outage without doing anything, within 1 minute, the automatic Generac is the main manufacturer generator that I install. Within 1 minute, the generator automatically starts up, and within 2-3 minutes, you'll see all the lights and all the power come back to your house without lifting a finger. But it is a little more pricey than the manual, which is why people sometimes do go to the manual. The size of the generator is also critical, and the first thing I'll do is ask the customer, what are you looking at backing up? Are you looking at just backing up a sub pump in your basement? So if the power goes out, you have a means of getting rid of any water coming into the house, or the whole entire house. You want to live normally in a power outage, well, then obviously that's going to increase the size of the generator install.
Now, with a manual, Glenn, do you have to literally go over to a switch and flip it on, or am I thinking of a generator that you take out of a shed or a garage and you plug it in?
Well, that's what you're going to be doing if you do the manual or portable generator install. I'll actually put an emergency panel just for the items you want to back up electrically in your house. I'll put that a small emergency sub panel next to the main panel, and I'll wire that emergency panel outdoor to an outdoor receptacle that the homeowner has to actually start up, just like a pull start. They do have electric start also. A lawnmower, they'll crank it up, plug a rubber cord into the generator, and the other end into the outdoor receptacle, which, when the generator is running, supplies the entire emergency sub-panel that I've installed. And in there, like I said, are the circuit breakers that you want to back up, or where you want to have electricity in a power outage.
Now, let me ask you this. With spring around the corner, for those people who may have a generator, what yearly maintenance is required?
What I usually recommend, Jack, is usually yearly I'll go out and do the basic tune-up visual inspection of the unit. Just like a car needs to be tuned up and inspected once a year, piece of machinery, so does a generator. Now, the manufacturer will say approximately 100 hours. But if there's multiple storms during a year, during a season, well, obviously that generator is going to be running a lot more than if there wasn't any power outages to the home. So there's a few factors that determine how often you should tune up your generator. Actually, in Arizona, where the air is dirtier and dustier, they recommend tuning it up more often than as compared to living in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
How about that? Glenn, walk us through the process as to what it involves a tune-up.
Yeah, basically, Jack, just like tuning up a car engine. What I'll do is come out to the automatic units. You can even do most of this to the portable ones, but the automatic ones, keep in mind, exercise themselves once a week. It can be any time during the week, but once a week it'll turn on and run itself without affecting the house or turning off the power to the house. It'll exercise for 12 minutes, getting ready and standby for a power outage and for it to ensure that it's running correctly. So when I come out, I'll change the oil filter, the air filter, spark plugs, cleaning, replacing them, gapping, battery. It has an actual 12-volt battery in it, just like your car. And I'll check the terminations on that to make sure they're clean, the water level, if there's any. Also, just a visual check. Are there any leakage, any spray of oil, or anything that would visually catch your eye? And lastly, Jack, also when I go out, some customers I've installed a unit 15 years ago, and since then, a lot of landscaping has grown around the automatic generator. And what the homeowner doesn't realize is these things need to breathe. If you get over 20 kW, 20,000 watts, well, then they become liquid cooled. But under 20 kW, they're air cooled. So on the left side of them is a fan and an intake blowing a stream of air, keeping it cool, and blowing out the right. So a lot of times I'll have to clear the landscaping around a unit that the homeowner doesn't even realize has grown there and is inhibiting the airflow going through the unit.
I'm going to have to jump in here, gentlemen. This is a fascinating discussion, and we're going to get right back to it after we take this quick break. We have a real experienced electrician on the line talking about generators, and I'm just fascinated by it. So stand by. We'll be right back right after these important words.
Boro Exterminating has been specializing in wood-destroying insect inspection and control for over 40 years, serving Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. All inspectors are state certified and ensure providing their clients with professional inspections and treatments. Boro not only performs conventional termite treatments, but also handles special services like historic buildings and homes with wells, creeks, or ponds. The client is assured that all treatments will be performed safely when you hire Boro to do the work. They also provide radon testing in their service area. Boro's full-time office staff is available to help you schedule an appointment. Just call 610-586-5640 or send an email request to boroinspects@verizon.net. That's 610-586-5640 or email at boroinspects@verizon.net.
Specially created t-shirts by BrainFlushGear.com offer the extreme sports enthusiast an opportunity to have a clothing line available that suits their sport. BrainFlushGear.com understands that when we get the moment where we can jump on our motorcycles, wave runners, surfboards, snowmobiles, or skateboards, it can be priceless. They offer custom artwork including silk screening, transfers, and embroidery. Speak to one of their consultants today and they'll help you create your own Brain Flush. Visit BrainFlushGear.com or email them at contact@BrainFlushGear.com.
For your septic inspection and testing needs, please consider Bucksmont Inspections. They've been serving the Bucks and Montgomery County areas for over 15 years. As members of the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association, the Pennsylvania Association of Sewage Enforcement Officers, and the Pennsylvania Association for Professional Soil Scientists, Bucksmont Inspections can inspect your existing septic system or test for your new septic system placement. Please call Rob Bowie at 215-669-4213 and say you heard their ad on the House Whisperers show.
As the weather gets cooler and the temperatures drop, the bugs might slow down, but the rodents don't stop. Mice and rats begin to invade homes during the fall and winter months, looking for food, warmth, and a comfortable place to nest. Don't wait for pesky rodents to invade your home. Fight back. Have your home baited and ready for their attack with Pest Blaster. Whether preventative or a full-blown infestation, give Pest Blaster a call at 215-295-5555 and they can discuss the solution to your problem. They also offer humane animal removal services for a wide variety of wild animals, damage repairs, and cleanups. Call them today at 215-295-5555 or check them out at pestblaster.com, servicing both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Pest Blaster, 215-295-5555 or pestblaster.com for all your pest control needs.
Tri-County Inspection Company has been providing professional home inspections, commercial inspections, and historic property evaluations for over 25 years. Tri-County Inspection Company covers 13 counties, serving both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They've performed inspections for over 70,000 clients and are members of the American Society of Home Inspectors, as well as the Pennsylvania Home Inspectors Coalition. They are licensed in both Philadelphia and New Jersey. For all of your real estate transactions, call Tri-County Inspections at 215-295-2030. For their New Jersey clientele, call 856-853-4224. In PA, call 215-295-2030. In New Jersey, 856-853-4224.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard.
And we are back with the House Whisperer Show. Jack Milne and his very special guest, electrician Glenn Aust. And we're talking about generators, and boy, what an important subject that is.
Well, thank you, Barry. And as this show is known for, every house has a story. When every house has a generator, you're the most popular guy in the block, believe me. So when my power goes off, I've got more neighbors knocking on my door asking if they can keep their stuff in my refrigerator or my freezer. But we are on the phone with Glenn Aust today, and we're talking about generator maintenance. And, you know, one of the things I think about, like, I'm a really handy guy, but, you know, Glenn, let me ask you this. Would any warranties be voided, you know, if the homeowner maintains their generator and something goes wrong?
That's a really good question, Jack. And actually, the homeowner is allowed to tune up and maintain their generator. The manufacturer, Generac, just asks simply to keep all the receipts and paperwork for what you have done on the unit. So, of course, if anything happens down the road, no, it would not affect the warranty as long as they have followed the manual's tune-up instructions and, like I said, kept the paperwork and receipts.
Oh, well, that's good to know. That's good to know. You know, as we were chatting the other night, Glenn, I was always trying to think of a time that people can remember, you know, for those of us who have generators, to get their machines maintained. And, you know, we have President's Day and all this other kind of stuff. And I was thinking tax day. I mean, I think everyone kind of likes to exhale on April 15th. But, you know, I thought that that might be a good time to go ahead and think about your generator because the weather's turning. We're past the winter. We're going to approach the summer shortly. And the weather, you know, is probably more conducive to spending an hour or so or more around your generator to make sure that it's up and running for the forthcoming season. So think about April 15th, folks. Now, Glenn, let me ask you, if someone calls you and says, Glenn, I need you to come out and you know, service my generator, what's an approximate cost?
On average, Jack, I charge, for everything that I mentioned previously, I charge approximately $250 to $300, and that's the final price, taxes, all the material included. And now you know that you have a generator that is ready for any power outage. I actually had, during Sandy, believe it or not, I had a customer call me as it was hitting, as the hurricane was hitting. He realized his generator wasn't running. He had moved into the house, and it was already there, the generator, and he actually didn't even have the keys to open it up to make sure that the unit was in the automatic switch position waiting for a power outage. Know that your generator is on standby, it's in good health, and it's waiting for a power outage. And, of course, always keep a set or two of those keys handy. And you don't want to wait till the last minute when that hurricane is coming up the coast or is actually here. To that customer, I wasn't able to do anything because I was actually risking my safety going out to the home during the hurricane. And secondly, I couldn't open it up anyhow. He wasn't able to find the keys. So it's good to know that it's so unpredictable, the power outages, and they can also be from ice storms, which break tree limbs and branches, and they fall over the power lines. So it's not necessarily a big storm or hurricane coming up the coast. It can just be from the regular weather like we're getting right now with all the snow and ice and everything. Power outages also come during those bad weather times, and it's good to know that that generator is ready to kick on as soon as your power is off to your house from the utility.
Glenn, as you're chatting, I'm also thinking, I can't tell you probably over the last 6 weeks how many homes I have found that have generators, and the client's looking at me and say, well, how does it work? And, so owning them, I can kind of give them the basics. But I think it might be a good idea to put it out there, Glenn, that you also do consultation work to go over, the operation of the generator and list, or if you're lucky enough that the sub-panel is listed to say that these are the items that are covered, Mr. Jones, if your power goes off. Now, does this suit your needs, or do we have to draw more from your primary and put it into a sub-panel?
And that happens often, Jack. What will happen is people will say, I tell them to get a list together so I can transfer those circuits from the main panel to the emergency panel. But then until they actually go through a long power loss like Sandy, a week, 2 weeks, then they realize and actually call me back 2-3 times to put more circuits in the emergency panel. Again, the automatic one you don't have to worry about because that's backing up the whole house. But yeah, but they realize until you actually go through a power outage and live through it, you don't realize how hard it is. For me, I live in rural Bucks County. Right away, I don't have my electric well pump. I have no water. I have no toilet, shower. And you don't realize the impact or what you really need electrically until you go through a power outage for a considerable amount of time.
And especially those folks who have maybe a sand mound, where your personal waste is ejected into a mound. That's
very good.
Pump.
And that comes up. That is one of the things people forget the most is, okay, we're out for a week or two, and we got everything, we can function pretty much normally, and then they hear the tank alert go off, which is an alarm for your waste system when it gets backed up. And that also obviously has electric pumps that need to come on intermittently to function that sand mound or whatever type of system you have so that it functions appropriately.
Glenn, here's a question for you. The manual generators, the one that you take out of the shed, what's the maximum fuse rating on that? Is that 20 amps, 30 amps, 40 amps?
Well, it actually about 50 amps is the largest plug-in cord. It's a rubber plug-in cord, very thick and heavy-duty, that plugs into a 220-volt, heavy-duty, 50-amp female plug on the side of the manual generator. And then, like I said, the other end plugs into an outdoor receptacle that I have installed for the homeowner. Obviously, the unit's got to run outside for all the exhaust purposes. Many people actually made the mistake of running it either too close to a window, because this power outage can happen in the summer also, or too far in their garage or a closed area where the fumes actually killed one person during Sandy, and the daughter survived, but they didn't realize it, that they weren't exhausting the systems appropriately.
Yeah, remember the carbon monoxide, and I think through our discussions, Glenn, you go through, it's an 8-gallon tank, and it's about a gallon an hour.
And that's something to think about also. People, when they're trying to determine between automatic and manual, with manual, keep in mind, you're going to be storing 5-gallon jugs of gasoline, and then you're going to have to, which will last approximately on the average manual generator about a day. So every day, if you only have one jug, you're running out to fill out your 5-gallon jug of gasoline to keep this generator going, to keep the house up. And keep in mind also, if it's a big power outage covering a huge area, your gas stations might also be shut down, traffic lights. So it's very hard to find a gas station that's open to get the gasoline to keep your manual generator running. Now, the automatic runs off natural gas or liquid propane, and that's another benefit of automatic compared to manual.
Unfortunately, gentlemen, we are just about out of time. So maybe, Glenn, would you give us your contact information again?
Yeah, thanks, Barry. You can reach me at glennelectric22@gmail.com. Phone numbers 215-357-5259 or 610-346-8129. And I'm also available on Angie's List, my company name, G.A.Electric.
All right, Jack, time is, I don't know where this time goes on this program, but time for me to thank Glenn and for Jack Milne to say goodbye for today.
Yeah, thank you, Barry. And, again, I always try to keep this show lively and where everything, that you hear, you can actually apply to your everyday lives. So as it is Sunday, I want to say please spend time with friends and family. Don't party tonight too much tonight because it is the Super Bowl. But the Eagles aren't in it, so I'm not sure who I'm going to root for. But anyway, we'll see you next week on the House Whisperer Show.
All right, and thanks once again to Glenn Aust. What a fascinating program this was. They all are. They're all fascinating. And let me invite you to tune in again next week for another edition of the House Whisperer Show with professional home inspector Jack Milne. And to listen to previous programs, or if you have any questions, visit thehousewhisperershow.com. I'm Barry Reisman. Thank you so much for listening to WWDB Talk 860 and WWDBAM.com. And thanks again to Jack Milne and to Glenn Aust for a fascinating program.